G'day champions! Here we've got a good old JCM 800 2203 head just in for a service, and might quote to give her a bit of a clean, give it the day spa treatment while it's in, because it should be given the respect it deserves. I love these things, they're awesome. I'll show you the back as well. Here we go. Got the typical sort of corrosion on the back grille that you see on every one of these at this age. 2203, 100 watt output, power input 375 watts, it's set to 16 ohms, 240 volts. Mains fuse at 2 amps, slow blow, and 1 amp slow blow on the high tension. Let's crack her open and we'll see what we're dealing with. Alright, so first glance inside, we've got mismatched valves. We've got 2 Svetlanas on the outer and 2 Sovteks on the inner. All the getters are intact. The Sovteks look a little bit older, but the Svetis, the base is a bit discoloured, like they might have been running a bit hot too. All original caps, dated second week of 82, so older than me. These look like replacement transformers. The bell housings just look a bit too shiny. Diagonal Electronics batch. Blah 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 blah. I'm trying to figure out that date code. D2968. No, I don't know what that means. Might look further into that because they look like they might have been replaced at some point. See, the choke looks original. I'll have a closer look at the output transformer and see if that's original as well. But anyway, let's get the chassis out. Now, to other techs, pretty much all Marshall amps, if you're taking the chassis out of the box, use the correct screwdriver, please. So this requires a number 3 Phillips. You can see it's already reamed over somewhat. People seem to not know that number 3 Phillips exist. Should be one of these screwdrivers to get the proper mating surface in there. When you use a number 2, particularly on the drill, it's loose in there, it spins around and it reams the screw head out. Now this one is damaged, but it's not too bad. Some of them you can barely remove them just because they've been drilled in with the impact driver and just reamed the hell out of it. So use the correct tool for the job. So she's pretty dirty. That's pretty much all the amps from this era are. So it's dated 12th of the 2nd. Oh, sorry, 12th of the 2nd. Yeah, Britain. That's the same date code as us. 12th of the 2nd, 82. You can see the suspiciously clean looking transformers there. And just having a tap on all the valves. The outputs. Hear that? A lot of movement happening in there. Sockets look okay, but I reckon these will be somewhat microphonic. Oh, listen to that. Very rattly tubes. So I dare say that's not just an anomaly, that would actually have an effect on its performance. That one as well. The sockets look okay, just checking the sockets as I go too. So that one's not as bad, but yeah, they all sound pretty rattly, and what I've found is if the tube's that rattly, often it's got issues with vibration as well. 3 look to be original 12AX7s. ECC 83 marking, same valve. So we might just fire it up. We'll keep an eye on the bias and see how it performs at the moment. I'd suggest a recap because at 82, I mean, come on, it's older than me, and I'm not looking that good, so I think it's time. It's definitely time. You want to keep these things in prime condition, you know. They're worthy of it, in my opinion. You can see down here, it's a bit hard to see on the camera, but yeah, the transformer's kicking off at a bit of an angle, and you can see that this bracket here is stretched, so the whole transformer's swung on that way, like it was dropped on, the whole cabinet was dropped on its end. The transformer wanted to keep going, so we'll flatten those out, put a big flat washer on there just to secure it a bit stronger, because that's not great as is. Right, so starting at the power end, we can see evidence of the transformer being replaced. There's some spliced wires there. That's for the heater run. There's remainders of leads left behind, so they've just snipped them off, and when they've run the new lead they haven't removed the old one, they've just left it there and soldered to the blob of solder that's already existing. There's just like the switch wiring's pretty sketchy. There's a lot of bare wire on there unnecessarily. It should be nice and short, but you can see there's probably a good 1/8 of an inch of bare wire there, which just gives it opportunity to fray. Over at the output valves, you can see there's some, so that's your main heater connection from your transformer. And look at that, you can probably pull it out. It's dry as dry can be. You can see it wiggling through the eyelet there. So that's very poor work. The grid stoppers have just been squashed down because they've just run their new wiring over the top of it. They've just pushed them down out of the way, which isn't great. You can see the two different colours of what do you call them? Mental blank cable ties. So they've got the sort of nylon-y clear coloured ones, and then the black ones are the new ones. A lot of tack soldering, so because the output transformer has been replaced too, you can see down in there, instead of actually doing it properly and cleaning the eyelet out and passing the wire through it and having a mechanical connection then soldering it, they've just shoved the contact on there, heated it a little bit and hope for the best, which isn't good, so we'll have to redo all of that. There's a modification to the bias circuit. That's a resistor to ground from the second bias node. That's the first filter node that passes through that resistor there. You can see the traces on the bottom side of the board. That's the second filter stage, and that's ground. Now that's moving a little too easily too, so I reckon those solder connections are probably shot on the bottom of the board, so I dare say we better lift the board and have a look, which is a bit of work. That resistor would have the effect of dragging the negative bias voltage closer to ground, so less bias voltage, which means more dissipation on the output stages, which is possibly why the valve bases look a bit overheated. Someone wanted a greater range of bias adjustment at some point, and they've probably gone a bit too far, so we'll have a look at that. I've never found the bias range in these to be outside a usable range given a good set of valves, so it'll be interesting to see how closely that mismatched pair match up. So what I might do is I'll go to the owner at the moment and just give him an estimate with the stuff that I've already found, because that will have a sort of barrier to entry, and if he's willing to go ahead with that stuff first and then we'll look at the recap, then we'll probably book it in. Otherwise it's getting to the age where you need to do this stuff. If you're not, just put it on a shelf. It looks pretty, but don't turn it on, because you're going to cook it, and this has already had its transformers replaced. We don't want to do it again. You can see up here too the main ground going to the output from the output transformer to the speaker terminals. That's just tack soldered on there as well, so we'll clean that up. We'll go over the rest of it. Most of the preamp looks reasonably untouched. Some of the jackets are a little bit melty, like maybe someone's desoldered something at some stage and then resoldered it. Bit hard to see with the light there, but you can see the jacket there looks a bit loose. Doesn't look like a factory solder joint to me, but then some of them do. So you can see quite a few of the solder joints look factory and some don't. So it's almost like someone was fault finding it at some point and had to desolder a bunch of stuff to eliminate problems. Alrighty, so I just talked to the customer. He's happy to go ahead. We've got a new set of valves in stock. We've got some new capacitors on the way, 6 of them, and we'll put some new screen grids in. I just noticed this screen grid here. I'll check the others, but this particular one looks damaged. Possibly just damaged from installation, possibly damaged from overheating, but it's ablated. That's the word of the week. Away its coating on this side. It's just sort of falling away as I touch it, so I think there's been possibly a shorted screen on that one, and possibly the valve that's already in it. So let's just check the resistance of all of them. I'm glad he's going ahead, because I think these amps are certainly worth it, and you see so many in poor condition. It's really it's an honour when you're allowed to restore one to prime condition again for another 30 years. They are heirloom amps. So she's still in spec. Yeah, it could have just been damaged from installation, or work in that area, like the soldering iron barrels scratched into it or something.